I am on a mission, and that mission is to slap people upside the head and wake them up and even make them hate me, if that's what it takes to get them to go examine what I'm telling them to find out that it's right. What I'm going to talk to you about today comes from my heart, and I think you need to start examining yourself, your agenda, your mission. Who are you? What are you about? What do you believe about America? Is it true? Are you helping to divide us more? Or are you helping to bring us together? Do you really understand what this country is all about?
Man, it's not the Jews, it's not the Catholics, it's not the blacks. It's these men who belong to the ancient mystery schools, who meet in secret beside the fate of the world. And they belong to all different races and all different nationalities and all different religions to the public point of view. But in secret, it's a different story.
Every secret brotherhood, every secret society, every mystical temple, every occult organization teaches the Luciferian philosophy. Their whole goal with this philosophy is to teach all men and women that the only end of life is to seek the utmost pleasure and happiness that you can get out of it, because when you die, there's nothing else. That's what they teach. That's what they want you to be. There's a method to their madness. There's really not much method to yours, because you're operating from a place of ignorance. And until you change that, you're going to be bumbling around, bumping into each other, saying and doing the wrong things, not understanding the nature of your enemy. And if you don't understand the nature of your enemy and the weapons they use, you cannot fight that enemy. You can't fight the battle. You shouldn't even be on the battlefield. It'll never be turned around until you learn what you need to know. You don't even recognize half the weapons that they use against you. Their whole purpose throughout history has been to teach a small number of people how to become adept at controlling everyone else. Their goal is to destroy all existing religions save theirs, all existing governments save theirs, and shackle the mob in a system of eternal oppressive debt chained to a computer for the rest of their life, and a propagandized world to make them believe that they are happy in this system. Now, do you think they're succeeding? Anytime any system makes you dependent upon anybody or anything or any system, you are enslaved. Understand that. It doesn't have to be chains of iron. The only thing that can stop it is by waking up vast amounts of sleeping people. Sheeple is what they are. Sleeping people.
What do I do, Lord?
Destroy the child. Corrupt them all.
This is their plan, people. These are demons.
People suck. There's too many of them, and they're easier to kill when they're fetuses than when they're grown up.
We just offer our children up to the system with the fluoride, the water, and the GMO hurting them.
So what's wrong with the population? I mean, there's too many people.
On infiltration instead of invasion. On subversion instead of elections.
Globe apologists tend to be so sure of their position that they rarely allow an entire sentence to be spoken before interrupting to regurgitate the explanations taught in their third-grade science textbooks. The irony is that myself and other flat earthers are well aware of these explanations and can recite them too. The difference is that we are skeptical and open-minded enough to carefully consider alternative explanations before immediately jumping to such foregone conclusions. Think back to when you were a child first learning all of this. What did it actually take for you to believe in it back then? If you are truly honest with yourself, you first believed it because you were a young child, too naive to know any better, and your parents, teachers, and every other adult around you accepted it as fact. In other words, our initial acceptance of heliocentric cosmology is more the result of argument from authority than from actual sound reasoning. Granted, we are given a few supposed proofs of the globe and told that flat Earth was a mistaken belief of our ignorant ancestors, but the main method of indoctrination is through simple omission. Students are only ever educated about one perspective, one possibility, and told it is the gospel truth. Through centuries of censorship, a wealth of information available on geocentrism and the flat Earth has been systematically silenced and hidden from academia. Myself and other modern flat earthers, with the help of the internet, have recently brought dozens of incredible books long out of print back into the hands of young minds. The fact of the matter is that if students were given equal school time to study geocentric material as they are heliocentric, the globe would quickly lose its popularity and no longer enjoy its reign as an uncontested consensus cosmology. I have personally been diligently studying geocentrism and the flat Earth for nearly 15 years now. I have read over 100 books and thousands of old newspaper and magazine articles on the subject. I have performed my own experiments and demonstrations to learn from personal experience, and have spoken to thousands of people from all walks of life on the matter. Meanwhile, how many globe believers can say the same? How many of these adamant globe defenders have actually read an entire flat Earth book? How many have read 10? They will usually claim to have done their due diligence in researching flat Earth before rejecting it, but the reality is that none of them have really delved deep or done so with an open mind. You must approach the subject without any bias or preconceived notions, and with the fresh eyes of a child, just like when you first learned the heliocentric globe model. It isn't easy to overcome a lifetime of propaganda. You must honestly humble yourself to the possibility that you have been fooled and everything you were taught was a lie. Otherwise, even when you look, you won't see. When you listen, you won't hear. When you read, you won't comprehend. And when you think, you won't ponder. If you cannot first empty your cup, then it is impossible to refill it with pure water. If you cannot first unlearn what you were originally taught, then it is impossible to learn anything new contrary to it. If you cannot first clear your mind of heliocentric indoctrination, you will lack the discernment necessary to recognize the geocentric truth. You have been systematically fed a complex web of lies designed to make you reject your own common sense and lived experience of the world. You have been taught that this notion of flat Earth is something so ridiculous that it should only be laughed at, and that anyone advocating for it must be utterly unintelligent or completely crazy. So your immediate and confident rejection of the notion is no different than your leg extending when hit with a reflex hammer. Your exasperated eye rolls and permanent smirks were programmed into you, as was the list of questions that instantly roll off your tongue, like, but why would they lie? What does it matter? And where are the whistleblowers? All of these, and even more specific questions, like, why is Earth the only flat planet? Why isn't Polaris visible from Australia? And how does the Eratosthenes experiment work on a flat Earth? All have valid, sound answers from a geocentric perspective.
Well, if they haven't looked into it at all, I can see how they would think that way, and I kind of thought that way years ago as well, that, well, it's just the shape of the Earth, what does that matter? Does it really matter whether it's this shape or that shape? So if you think of it on that level, then sure, it seems insignificant, and it seems like it could be a waste of time, even if it was true. But if you think of it a little deeper than that, and you think of it as being the most fundamental lie, is where we are, what we're doing here, the earth beneath our feet, the lights in the sky above us, what they actually are. And if we've been lied about all of these, as well as the Big Bang and evolution and the way that we supposedly got here and the purpose we may or may not have in this nihilistic cosmology that they've presented with us, it becomes a big deal. And when you look at the potential for a truth like this, a truth that has been suppressed for 500 years now, the flat earth truth, if that gets out and it is shown that every government, every university, every pundit, every television station is lying knowingly and censoring this truth, what happens when it actually gets out? The kind of restructuring of society and the system that truthers are looking for, that people know we need, is what can happen and what will happen and what must happen if this truth gets out, because this is huge. It is the truth. I guarantee anyone who's never heard of this before, look into the flat earth. The earth is flat, just like it appears on the horizon. The earth is motionless, just as you feel motionless. Everything in the sky revolves around us, just as it appears if you look up and use your own eyes, your own senses. Everything that your senses tell you is what's happening. But you've been fed a false system. You've been shown CGI images with a ball earth with a horizon that curves. You've been shown more CGI images with a ball earth that spins. You've been shown planets that spin like billiard balls around each other in many different directions at many different speeds simultaneously. You've been shown all these things in CGI format. You've had Freemasons lie to you and tell you they've seen it for themselves, but you've never seen it for yourself. You've just been lied to and shown pictures, and you believe those. It's not science. Science, in fact, shows that the Earth is flat and motionless, and there are hundreds upon hundreds of proofs and experiments that have been repeated throughout history for hundreds of years, but you haven't been taught them in school because they don't want you to be taught that in school. They show you a spinning globe on your first day and tell you that gravity keeps water and buildings and people stuck to the bottom of that thing, and they repeat it until you believe it, your parents believe it, your grandparents believe it. 500 years ago, people were believing it. They even started trying to get people to believe it thousands of years ago, but it didn't pass until about Copernicus in 1500s when this really started to take shape. So the reason that some of the pseudo-truthers, so to speak, or just mainstream sheeple don't want this to get out and say that it's a distraction, is because they don't know how far-reaching the implications of a truth this deep actually surfacing would be. It's like holding a balloon underwater. When you let go, that thing's just gonna rush to the surface, the water's gonna go flying, and that's what we need. It's exactly what we need. So that's what I'm working towards doing.
Hey man, you ever look into flat Earth?
200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball by Eric Dubay. 1. The horizon always appears perfectly flat 360 degrees around the observer regardless of altitude. All amateur balloon, rocket, plane, and drone footage show a completely flat horizon over 20 plus miles high. Only NASA and other government space agencies show curvature in their fake CGI photos and videos. 2. The horizon always rises to the eye level of the observer as altitude is gained, so you never have to look down to see it. If Earth were in fact a globe, no matter how large, as you ascended, the horizon would stay fixed and the observer would have to tilt looking down further and further to see it. 3. The natural physics of water is to find and maintain its level. If Earth were a giant sphere tilted, wobbling, and hurtling through infinite space, then truly flat, consistently level surfaces would not exist here. But since Earth is in fact an extended flat plane, this fundamental physical property of fluids finding and remaining level is consistent with experience and common sense. 4. Rivers run down to sea level, finding the easiest course, north, south, east, west, and all other intermediary directions over the Earth at the same time. If Earth were truly a spinning ball, then many of these rivers would be impossibly flowing uphill. For example, the Mississippi, in its 3,000 miles, would have to ascend 11 miles before reaching the Gulf of Mexico. 5. One portion of the Nile River flows for 1,000 miles with a fall of only 1 foot. parts of the West African Congo, according to the supposed inclination and movement of the ball Earth, would be sometimes running uphill and sometimes down. This would also be the case for the Parana, Paraguay, and other long rivers. 6. If Earth were a ball 25,000 miles in circumference, as NASA and modern astronomy claim, spherical trigonometry dictates the surface of all standing water must curve downward an easily measurable 8 inches per mile, multiplied by the square of the distance. This means, along a 6-mile channel of standing water, the Earth would dip 6 feet on either end from the central peak. Every time such experiments have been conducted, however, standing water has proven to be perfectly level. 7. Surveyors, engineers, and architects are never required to factor the supposed curvature of the Earth into their projects. Canals, railways, bridges, and tunnels, for example, are always cut and laid horizontally, often over hundreds of miles without any allowance for curvature. 8. The Suez Canal, connecting the Mediterranean with the Red Sea, is 100 miles long without any locks, making the water an uninterrupted continuation of the two seas. When constructed, the Earth's supposed curvature was not taken into account. It was dug along a horizontal datum line, 26 feet below sea level, passing through several lakes from one sea to the other, with the datum line and the water's surface running perfectly parallel over the 100 miles.
Is from Williamstown across to Arthur's Seat. Now you can see where my camera is, the P900 icon. That's where I was standing, and it's 3 meters in elevation, which I will add about 6 foot on top of that. Now you can see this tree here, it's fallen over, and in the distance I actually zoom in onto the sign here that says Esplanade to prove exactly where I was. Just remember that fallen over tree. So if we measure all the way across from where I was, all the way across here, this is Arthur's Seat. Now I've put markers here, 60 meters above sea level, 160, and then at the very top, let's just go in between 53 kilometers to 160. And I'm going to lower myself down. We're seeing the whole thing. Let's go a little closer. Bang.
Alright, and now if we go on Peak Finder and match it up to the observation I did by jacking up the height all the way to 225 meters, we can see it matches perfectly, and I'm seeing the whole thing. If we go to the Advanced Earth Curve Calculator, we can see the target visible and target hidden. There should be 160 meters of target hidden height, and we have 0. So let's crank up the refraction and make the Earth bigger, according to their own globe paradigm, until we get 0 missing. Go up, go up, go up, and right about there. Right there. We get a 0 hidden height value now. And if we go over to the refraction tab, we can see we've now made the radius of Earth 304,000 kilometers when it's supposed to be 6,371 kilometers. Welcome to Flat Earth. Thanks for playing.
Curvature of the Earth Horizon Model of Science! Watch. As ships sail away, they don't disappear all at once. First, the bottom will disappear. See, the bottom of the ship is gone. Now we can see midway up, and then the whole thing disappears. Now, ships came back. They didn't fall off a table. So people realized that the world is curved. I mean, it's a big curve, but it's curved. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. The world is round.
Boats vanish beyond the horizon due to perspective and not the curvature of a round Earth, as demonstrated here with the white cap being the boat and the countertop being the flat Earth. And the camera will be at ground level, as you can see. the white cap in the bottom right corner. Now watch as we move it away. It disappears slowly, then it's totally gone out of your view. Doesn't mean it went over a round counter, does it? Just means it went out of your line of sight due to perspective. But as you can see here, if you zoom in with the camera, you're going to find that it pops right back into view, proving that it did not disappear due to curvature, but due to perspective, and boats do the same thing. So, where do boats go? The same place the white cap goes. Beyond the vanishing point, our line of sight. It's called perspective. It's always there. You just can't see it with the naked eye. But when you zoom in with the camera, it pops right back into view, proving that it doesn't go over curvature.
The truth is too scary for you to face. It's complicated. It's not. It's actually very simple. Everything here is actually really simple. The Earth is flat. Everything here is actually really simple.
Somebody tagged me in this video, and it's supposed to explain why we can't see the curvature of Earth. And the premise of the video is that Earth is so gigantic in relation to us, we are so microscopic on Earth that we couldn't possibly see any curvature. Now, the only problem with this argument is that it negates another argument, which is that we can see boats disappear going over the curvature of Earth standing on a beach. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that Earth is so large you can't see the curvature, and then in the same breath say that there's enough curvature over 3 miles to make an entire ship disappear. It doesn't make sense. We have a person standing here that's witnessing a ship vanish right before their eyes. Now, what could make this ship vanish if there is no curvature in between the person and the ship? Convergence, maybe? You guys need to wrap your head around this concept, or you'll forever think you're in outer space spinning on a rock where monkeys turned into talking people. The only reason you can see the sun, the stars, and the moon is because they are not millions of miles away from you. You've been finessed. Why? I have no idea. I don't have all the answers. I'm just pointing out the obvious. You can either take it or leave it. It's up to you. But this is your reality. Your perception of reality will not change the facts. And to see this, you need only to be a critical thinker. I think that's the issue here. Most globe enthusiasts don't think critically. And then you call us people who do think critically conspiracy theorists, when you guys are the ones with all the damn theories. The theory of relativity, the theory of evolution, the Big Bang theory, the theory of gravity. Everything about this globe that you believe in is dependent upon theories. And all they have to do is put the word scientific before theory, and you're sold on it. That's wild. Y'all enjoy being lied to.
How can there be a sunset if the earth is flat? It's all due to the law of perspective. I want you to notice how the power lines merge inward and downward the further they are away from you. And the same thing when you look down a long corridor or a hallway. Notice how the lights on the ceiling merge downward and they seem to get smaller the further away they are. The same way with the doors, the same way with the floor. See how everything merges in and gets smaller the further it moves away from you? And you'll see the same thing here with the street lamps. Notice how they merge inward and downward the further they move away from you. And you get the same thing with railroad tracks. Notice how they merge inward and seem to get smaller towards the end and eventually disappear off into the horizon. And the same thing here. Notice how the tracks merge inward and seem to get smaller. So do the street lamps and the tiers to the right as they fade off into the horizon. Remembering the ground is level and the objects are in a straight line, just like the bottles that we have on the table here. Notice they're all in a perfect straight line and they're all level, but watch what happens when we change the angle of perspective, as you can see here. Now notice how all the bottles merge inward and seem to get smaller towards the end of the table. Now if this table were longer, the bottles would disappear just like the street lamps and the railroad tracks, because they're going beyond the vanishing point, beyond the limit of our vision. Well, the sun does the same thing, as you can see here. Notice how it merges inward and downward and appears to get smaller in size the further that it moves away from you. That's because it's just going out of your perspective. For instance, look at these street lights. Notice the one up close looks larger, and then they appear to get smaller the further away, and they merge inward and go downward. That's all due to perspective. These street lamps are not going over a curve, they're just going out of your line of sight. So as you can see, the sun does not set nor does it rise. It only moves in and out of your perspective, your line of sight. And once it moves beyond the vanishing point, you just can't see it anymore. Kind of like a sunrise, for example. Take these street lamps. See how they merge inward and they seem large up close and they seem to get smaller the further away? Well, the same thing happens with a sunrise. If you watch the sun rise, as you can see here, notice how the further away the sun is, the smaller it appears. And as it gets closer, it appears to get larger, just like the street lamps, just like the railroad tracks, just like a hallway. It's all due to perspective. And it also depends on your location, where you are positioned at when you are looking at the object that is moving away from you or moving toward you. Now, some people will see the sun directly over the head moving in a straight line, depending on which time of the year it is and what country you're in. But as you notice here, the sun appears to get smaller the further that it moves away, just like the street lamps. It's not going over a curve, it's just going out of your line of sight. And like I said, also it depends on your location and your position. Say, for instance, here, notice how the street lamps seem to merge to the left and downward. Okay, now watch as we move directly in line with them. Now you see how they're all in a straight line, merging downward towards the horizon. Now watch what happens when we get on this side of them. Okay, now notice how they merge inward and downward to the right. Like I said, it all depends on your location and where you're positioned at as the sun passes and is moving out of your line of sight. For example, if I move this bulb across this string, which is tied perfectly level across this countertop, it just looks like it's moving in a straight line. But let's look at it from down on the flat earth point of view, using the line of bottles as our horizon. As you can see, the light bulb is not going over a curve. It's going straight across the counter, across the string. It just appears that way due to perspective. Now, for example, let's look at it on a smaller scale. Take a person that is walking away from you, like right here. You notice the field goal and the bleachers are all at ground level. Now, watch what happens when the guy walks beyond your perspective, beyond your line of sight. Now you see, if this flat football field continued on and on, you eventually wouldn't see this guy anymore. He would disappear totally out of your line of sight. Now, we all know that there's no big curve in the middle of this football field. So now I hope you can understand that the sun does not set nor does it rise. It merely only moves out of your line of sight due to perspective. And I'll show you one last time how that works on a smaller scale. Okay, we have the camera lined up to zoom all the way across this flat table. Now, when you first look at it this way, it's kind of like looking at it with your regular eye vision, because you can't zoom in with your eyes, but a camera can. So let me show you. This bottle cap's the sun. Okay, it just went over the horizon is what you're saying, right? Over a curve. But if you could take any telescope or any camera with a good zoom lens, and this is what you'll see when you zoom in. It pops right back into view. It didn't go over the horizon, just went out of your perspective to where you can't see it anymore. Now, you know we're going to have some bias jump in and comment and say, oh, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. The camera's below the level of the table. Now, what that means is they are photography illiterate. So we will help them understand this procedure real quick. For a proper ant's perspective or bug's eye view of a tabletop surface, placing the center of the camera lens at the table surface level is too high. It would result in a straight-on side view, not a view of the tabletop surface. To achieve a correct level perspective that shows the tabletop while looking up from an ant's view, you must place the camera near or slightly below the table surface level with the camera tilted slightly upward. While centering the lens over the table is a helpful starting point, the most essential factor is ensuring the camera center is completely parallel to the table surface. By keeping the camera extremely low, you will naturally catch the top of the table while maintaining the dramatic, immersive perspective. Achieving a bug's eye view of a tabletop involves placing the camera lens parallel to or slightly below the table surface, using macro equipment to capture the intimate low-angle perspective. The technique makes small objects appear massive, creating a dramatic worm's eye view of the scene. And that is what you just witnessed right here. That's what the sun does right here. Check it out. Now, from the normal vision of your eyes and from your perspective right here on the beach, you think the sun has gone partially behind the horizon, but it's not. All you need is a good zoom camera and you can zoom right back in on it, moving right across the flat earth, just like the bottle cap moved right across the flat table. Once you zoom in, it pops right back into view, proving that it doesn't go over a curved ball. It only goes out of your perspective, your line of sight, to where you can't see any further with the naked eye. You just need to learn to have an open mind and don't believe that something's a fact just because the people you think that are smarter than you showed you this in a book or on TV, so it must be true because I just showed you different.
Exactly. So, like, what about Earth curve? You said you don't adjust for Earth curve either. So let me ask you this: you have an instrument in your plane called the attitude indicator, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and that has a gyroscope connected to it that maintains rigidity in space, correct?
Yep.
Great. So if you fly straight and level over the Earth, and you never have to change your orientation in relation to the ground, you're flying over a flat Earth, sir.
Nope, absolutely not.
Okay, what makes you
You're
think?
flying at a constant altitude above mean sea level.
Correct. And if that mean sea level is flat around and it's the same level all around the Earth, if the Earth, let's just say the Earth is flat, it's the same thing, isn't it? If the Earth is flat and you're flying east to west in a circle, it's the same exact thing. Welcome to Flat Earth.
It doesn't prove that it's flat.
Yes, it does.
Doesn't prove anything.
Check this out. See this image I've got on screen? See the... here. See this plane? Here? Okay?
Oh yeah, the 6,000 mile long aeroplane, yep.
Yeah, I'm just showing... it's big so that you can see it, sir. Right? So if we shrink it down, it's still here, right? But you won't be able to see it?
Yep.
Okay. We're going to fly to the equator. In relation to where the plane was here, it's nose down, right? To fly around this curved line, is this line curved? If you maintain the altitude around a globe, is this line curved?
Yeah.
But you said you don't need to dip the nose down to account for curvature.
You're talking about dipping the nose 1/1000th of 1 degree constantly.
A plane flying 500 miles per hour would have to account for just under a mile of curvature every minute.
No, it wouldn't.
Yes, it would.
Your math is wrong.
No, it's not. It's actually completely correct. How big is the Earth, sir? At the equator?
I have no idea. Nope.
You have no idea, but you just told me I'm wrong. You don't know how big the Earth is, so you don't know how much it curves. But you just told me I'm wrong.
Doesn't it curve something like 8 inches per mile squared?
Exactly. So if we apply that now to how much you fly in miles per hour, that's just under...
At 500 miles an hour, at 600 miles an hour, you're doing a mile a minute. So you have to drop 8 inches a minute.
No, you'd have to drop...
nothing.
No. You'd have to drop over about a mile a minute, sir. If you're flying over 600 miles per hour, that's roughly a mile a minute. You'd have to drop...
That's what I just said. It's a mile a minute, and the Earth drops 8 inches per mile, so you're dropping 8 inches per minute.
No, that's already with the calculation done, sir. You're dropping a mile of curvature per minute. Not 8 inches, a mile of curve per minute. You just told me the plane never dips its nose, right? You never have to adjust...
I said it dips its nose minutely, not enough to even measure.
But
the Earth drops. You just agreed that the Earth drops 8 inches per mile.
No, I agreed that your model claims that. I'm saying that if you're flying straight and level to your destination, you never dip the nose ever.
I'm flying at a constant altitude above Earth.
Correct. So if the Earth is flat, it's the same thing, huh?
It doesn't prove that the Earth is flat.
Yes, it does.
Also, your attitude indicator maintains rigidity in space. So if you were dipping the nose down, you'd see the gimbal base change its orientation relative to the gyroscope, but it doesn't do that.
Yeah, like when you're 90 degrees, so you're here and you go here, does your attitude indicator now, is it out by 90 degrees now?
There isn't a plane on Earth that could travel that far.
Yes, there is. Are you joking?
But yeah, I've flown to South Korea to talk about flat Earth, and it took 14 hours, and we flew around the globe, if it was a globe. But the airplane flew The FAA trains pilots to assume a flat, non-rotating Earth because the Earth is flat and non-rotating. Your profile picture actually proves the Earth is flat.
I told him that before too, yeah.
My profile picture isn't an artist's drawing. It's nothing to do with proof of anything.
Okay,
listen, I'm already sick of this discussion. I've been to 72,000 feet. I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm really not interested in what you think.
This is 120,000 feet, so this is no curve. It's just higher than what you're claiming.
What's 120,000 feet?
This image that you're seeing on screen, sir?
You're 7,000 miles.
This is 120,000 feet on screen right now, sir. You didn't see curvature from your height that you just said.
So my question to you, Claude, is if you're flying from the left side of this red line to the right side of this red line, are you flying around a curve? That's what
Probably,
I thought.
yes. I don't know how wide that line is.
Bro, that was the longest silence I've ever heard on a flat Earth debate. Thank you. I appreciate that, Twat. We'll clip that.
Yeah. So hang on real quick.
Flip whatever you like. I'm trying to figure out how wide the angle is on your picture, and it doesn't look very wide.
Okay, but it's from 120,000 feet. Is there a curve? Do you see curve on the screen?
I can't see enough of it to tell.
Let me ask you this, though. If you go to the beach and you see a boat go away from you, does the boat go over the curve?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how come there's no curve at 120,000 feet? How's the boat going over the curve at 3 miles away? Can you see 3 miles of horizon here and it's obviously flat? Obviously.
I don't know what that photo is. I don't know if it's computer generated. I don't know who's fucked with it.
It's a high altitude. Hang on real quick. It's a high altitude balloon footage.
Yeah, were you in the balloon?
Yeah, but just to help you out here, Twat, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson admits he's a PhD astrophysicist. He says you can't see the curve from 120,000 feet. He says it's flat.
Yeah, that's been debunked. So let's try again.
The only way I can really analyze this is to know the distances, because if you show me something that I should not be able to see, then that would be a point well made. But right now, I don't know the distances.
I'm going to show you 2 points. Now, these are oil rigs, and we know exactly how far they are because they don't move, right? And the camera is 1 foot off the water here. Now, again, you need to verify this. I could be lying. It could be 100 feet in the air, right? So it's 1 foot off the water. This one is 6.2 miles away. Doesn't seem like far, 9.4 miles away. But according to the Earth Curve Calculator, this platform should be hidden by 59 feet of curvature from that elevation. Not only can we see all of the water leading up to it, we can see the horizon far behind it. Let me show you another video of this. So this horizon is far beyond the platforms.
Okay.
So right here, the water would need to be refracting up almost 60 feet. Out here, it has to refract up maybe hundreds of feet for us to be able to see it. But the horizon is far miles beyond the horizon, beyond the platform, which would be impossible on a ball.
Okay, so you're saying that the camera that took that picture was 1 foot off the water?
Correct.
So the first one was 1, this one's 8 foot, and I can actually show you the video of that confirming it, but yeah.
Oh, okay, so let's go with the 8 feet then. That's easy. These are easy calculations. So 8 feet, and you're saying that platform is 9.4 miles away?
The one in the back on that image now is 10.1 miles away from 8 foot.
Okay, what's the one in the front? Because I can see that better.
About 6.
Well, it doesn't matter because the horizon is far beyond the second one. The horizon, how can we see the water beyond it? The horizon should be in front of it.
Well, the horizon at that distance, at that height, so if you're 8 feet above, the horizon should be about 3.5 miles away.
Correct.
Yeah, there's an inconsistency there because the horizon, if that platform is, as you say, 6 miles away, then I can clearly see the horizon behind the rig. And that horizon in the background should be, like I said, 3.5, let's say 3.5 miles away, but it's obviously well beyond
something for you to look into.
Thanks for asking. I know that. That's why I was going to offer a hand. I'm sure you don't want to buy it. Yeah, because...
Copy. We are not getting telemetry from that last song. Please stand by.
Some people have suggested that it hit a dome that may be above us, but I thought at that velocity it would have been destroyed. So I didn't think much of it when I originally watched it. When you watch the video, the rocket just stops. And so I started looking up the stats. That rocket went over 3,500 miles per hour on that trip. Now, it might not have been going that fast when it stopped, but it was going a few thousand miles per hour at least, and all that energy just suddenly, where did it go? Rockets don't have brakes. It literally stops, and I mean the rotation keeps going a little bit, but all of that angular momentum from the rotation of the rocket and the linear momentum from flying up just stopped. No, it had to have hit something. But what did it hit? If it hit a solid surface, the rocket would have been destroyed, and most likely the camera too, so we wouldn't have the footage, and obviously that's not the case. So when you start watching it, around that time, around a minute in, a few seconds later, the two stages separate. It's a two-stage rocket, it looks like, and you watch the bottom half of the rocket start to fall down, as you would expect. But then the upper half, the way the camera's mounted to it, starts spinning around, and very slowly it starts to fall back towards Earth. Very slowly. And you might think, well, I have it up here, the Go Fast rocket got up to about 117 kilometers. And space, outer space, is considered in the thermal layer. Once you cross into the thermal layers, technically you're in outer space. But what doesn't make sense is, just because you fly vertically into outer space doesn't mean that you're just going to float there. That's not how it works, based on the heliocentric model. You have to have an orbital velocity, and these orbital velocities are incredibly fast. You have to be orbiting the Earth to resist the force pulling down on you, gravity, weight, whatever you want to call it, that pulls down on you. You have to do that. You have to do, basically, this string is gravity. Just to show this again, if you haven't seen that, you have to be moving at a high velocity to resist that force. That rocket went straight up, so it should have fallen straight back down. Now, just to see what the acceleration on that rocket should be, assuming very thin, almost no air up here, because that's what's supposed to be there, I did a calculation at 117 kilometers plus the radius of the Earth, and I found that the acceleration towards Earth, due to gravity, if you want to call it that, or due to weight, should be roughly 9.46 meters per second squared. That's not much. That rate is pretty close to the rate at sea level, which is 9.81 meters per second squared. So it should have basically done this, but it didn't. It stops, and then it just kind of slowly starts sinking, like it's in water or some type of liquid. That's what it looks like. If you really start watching it, the way those pieces are falling, if you get to about 2 minutes and 10 seconds in, you see the other stage, the lower half of the rocket, still slowly tumbling down like it's in water. According to mainstream science, as you get up in these layers, as the temperature goes up, as you get up in these layers, the pressure decreases. The pressure becomes almost nothing in the thermo layer and meso layer as well. But suddenly, it just kind of stops and then slowly starts sinking. What's going on here? Is there water there? There's some kind of liquid? Or some kind of very, very dense gas? Scriptures tell us that there is water up there.
Now, I can't remember this engineer's name, but he is 110% correct on everything that he spoke of, except for the rocket supposedly hitting the firmament. Now, what you are witnessing the rocket hit is what you call the aether, the fifth element, which basically is the first layer of the firmament, according to the ancients. In ancient philosophy, Plato distinguished ordinary air from a translucent kind called aether, which Aristotle later defined as the fifth element, an unchanging celestial substance that made up the stars and planets. Nothing can penetrate through that layer of ether. And that is why you see this rocket come to a complete stop and everything slowly start to fall. And the reason that you have never seen this with a NASA rocket or any other government agency's rocket, because it always curves off before they get to that ether layer of the firmament. As you see here, that rocket always curves off every time because there's a firmament there. Now, every now and then, you'll get the rockets who go up and kind of skid off of the aether, which is the fifth element, the layer below the firmament. That's why it looks like a boat skimming across water, because it's skimming across the surface of that aether, and nothing can get through this, just as the Bible says. They can sit there and skim off of it, just as you're seeing here, and give you some pretty little effects in the sky, but they cannot get through it. Every single rocket that you ever will see will always curve off or scrape along the aether underneath the firmament and give you these platonic pulses, as you're seeing right here. But like I said, that's why their rockets curve off, because they cannot get through the firmament, and this aether layer will stop you before you even get to the firmament, just as it did the amateur rocket launch that you just watched, because there's a firmament. And the director of NASA, Wernher von Braun himself, the chief architect and engineer of NASA's rockets, knew there was a firmament and that we couldn't go past it, and he left us a little message on his tombstone.
Psalm 19. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork.
I'm sorry to tell you, the only thing that's been to space is your imagination. The only thing that's been to space is your imagination.
The next time you go to a mountain or a building, look at the Earth, look at where you just came from, maybe use binoculars or a camera, and you can see for yourself that where NASA claims there is curvature, there is none. And you can see 20 miles away, it's a complete flat plane. Meaning, the globe model is impossible in reality. It's fake. It's a lie. The Earth is flat.